Hi then guys, welcome back to Once You're In, You're In. This is episode 14, I think. It's another in-person special. We're just finishing, we're on a high from the England game, so it was a good result. We're not going to delve into it, we haven't got a lot of time, so we'll do a quick,
that was it.
Yeah, for anyone who's been living under a rock, by the time this comes out, we won.
So the in-person specials will continue if we're playing on Tuesday.
But we're not playing on Saturday.
Yeah, we're playing on Saturday. And then the following Tuesday, Finn's deciding to ditch me for a week, which is a bit of a shame.
A few days.
But yeah, a few days. So yeah, it won't be an in-person special next week. So this potentially could be the last one. So enjoy them because they're going to be rare. We don't like each other usually. So yeah, we wouldn't really meet up other than the football. And it's only because Finn uses all my football stuff anyway. I don't think you use ITV.
I don't use ITV, mate.
No, he doesn't. But
you're using mine.
BT, Now TV, he's like, you've got the password.
Pay myself some money.
Yeah, I'll sort him out. You know.
Your mum sorts you out.
Yeah, my mum sorts me out, so therefore I'm like, right.
Your mum sorts us out with everything.
Yeah, my mum sorts us up. Like, oh, football, yeah, sound. She'll pay for it. I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll take it. But no, we'll do the usual update. Another week has passed. Anything to report for you, mate? Training's been in a good spot, hasn't it been?
Yeah, everything's been sound for me.
Yeah.
We're thinking about changing sessions around a little bit, aren't we? Because we want to get an upper or, for me, a push day. To be fair, we said we might do the push and the leg day at Ultraflex just because they've got some new prime kit that we want to jump on. So we're probably going to do that maybe from, not next week, but the week after.
Yeah.
But we haven't decided that yet. But yeah, it's been a good week. Training's all going well. Don't think I've had any sort of niggles really. I had that thing with my neck down out from the true squat, but that wasn't really anything notable.
Yeah. I feel like these kind of weeks, these are the weeks where like we don't really have much to report. These are like the best weeks because there's nothing that we could say that needs to be changed drastically or
no, it's just a good week.
Yeah, it's just a week.
Everything's progressed well. Everything's been feeling good.
Yeah.
Energy levels have been. Oh, my car, got a brand new car. It's a Audi A7.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's really big.
Massive.
The boot is
lovely.
huge.
Yeah.
You could literally fit I reckon you could lay down 4 people in the boot.
Yeah.
That's not even an exaggeration as well.
No,
you have to curl up a little bit, but it is a big boot.
Yeah, the boot's massive.
It's not an Audi A7. It's a Mercedes E-Class.
It's a Mercedes Insignia, or a Vauxhall RS6.
Yeah, it's a Vauxhall RS6.
That's what we're going to go with, yeah.
It's massive. It is big to fair. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
I'm getting on well with it. It's nice. It's the first bigger car I've had. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, his testosterone levels have already dropped by 20%. Yeah.
I've turned into a dad. Shannon was immediately impregnated as soon as I purchased the car. As soon as the keys got handed over,
facial hair was
Shannon
growing.
messaged me and was like, how is the 3 kids sat on the sofa upstairs? Yeah. It's like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I bought the car. All right, that's what it is.
Yeah, a crate of beers appeared in the freezer.
In my stomach.
Yeah, and you're like, fucking hell, wow. This is what it's like to be like
beer belly, straight out. Yeah.
Hairline receded 6 inches.
Hairline, so.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Mate, I could do a top knot.
Yeah, you could, to be fair. But yeah, we'll continue. Update about myself. All seems to be good. I don't know if I said this last week, but I feel like this week it started to actually feel like I'm dieting, which is quite nice. Because just so hard. No, it's more so. I've made a fair few tweaks and changes. Said this to Finn the other day, and it's like I wouldn't say I've made too many changes. But when I was 16 weeks out, I was like, right, I want the next month to be quite a lot of changes to occur this month. So let's say from week 16 to week 12, I want to be looking good from week 12. Like I don't want it where I'm, let's say 10 weeks out and I'm looking still soft and fat. I want it where like 12 weeks out, I'm like, yeah, I'm looking decent. And therefore that resulted in a lot of changes. So it was like cardio was up from like week 16, it was like 2 sessions a week. Then it was 3, now it's 4. Nutrition was manipulated like every 5th day, not drastically, just slight little adjustments here and there. And in a way I was chasing more so body weight for like just body weight for body weight. So I was thinking, right, if I can get down to like 101, 100 kilos, that will most likely put me into where I need to be, where the rate of loss will no doubt slightly reduce as I get closer to the 26th of September. And pretty much what's occurred is my body weight has stayed relatively the same. My visual looks got far, far better. My body weight has dropped. It's dropped by about 1 kilo or 2. But I definitely can tell the last week or so that I'm just a little bit meh. And like you won't be able to explain it without actually feeling it, because I'm still sound. I'm fine. There's no issue at all regarding that. It's more so like I can smell food and I'm like, oh, that smells nice. So I'm actually eating my food and I'm like, that tastes quite nice. And like little things, my overall well-being is just, instead of it being on like a 9 out of 10, I'm like a 7 out of 10. And I'm like just a bit more met.
It's been horrible all the time.
Just so short, but no. So I feel sound. I'm looking like for where I need to be. I'm probably a little bit ahead, but that's not a bad thing because I can just kind of slow down. I've already said to myself, like, right, no changes now for like 2 to 3 weeks until it's really needed. Like at the end of the day, if you create a deficit, you don't need to continue to create a further deficit and dig deeper when it's not needed. Like if I was to be 6 to 8 weeks out, 6 weeks would be a push, but I could be ready. 8 weeks, sound spot on. Like that's
we've said before, haven't we? Like you can get in shape in a very, very short period of time. Like it's not ideal and it's not going to be the most optimal way of doing a prep.
No.
But if you were to completely fuck up and be like 4 weeks out and be like, shit, I'm miles off, you could still get ready.
Oh yeah.
Like your training would probably be pretty poor. You wouldn't feel great. You'd probably lose a bit of muscle towards the end, which you might not have done if you'd have done it slower. But it's manageable to do it. Like you wouldn't want to, but you could do it if you had to.
Yeah, agreed. So
like when you know how to do it, it just fucking be grim.
Yeah, exactly. Like
just like loads and loads of your himbi.
Yeah, loads of
no change to food. No just loads of your himbi.
Yeah, like 120 micrograms of clen. Like,
no clen, not allowed clen.
Not allowed clen.
No, you're not yet.
Yeah, I know.
You're doing UKDFBA.
Yeah, UKDFBA, your himbi.
Keep telling you, you're not allowed clen. Have you been taking it?
Yeah, I've been taking
again.
Clen. Yeah, again. Sorry.
Mate, that drug test, you're gonna get done.
I know, shit. And I've been taking MB pre, and I think that's against.
You're not even allowed that. You're not allowed anything.
Yeah, you're not allowed literally any enhancements.
Literally, you're allowed water and rice.
You've had a paracetamol.
Anything else? If you've had protein,
yeah.
No,
like,
you're not.
I had a paracetamol 3 days. I had a headache, and I can't.
I've told you on it. There's a page. Like,
yeah, I know everything.
People ask like vitamin C tablets and paracetamol and stuff. Is this all right? Like,
you're allowed to.
I'm not like, no.
You're allowed to inject BPC 157.
I don't think you
are. It's not on the list.
Are you sure?
I don't know. I'm going to say
you're not even allowed like that melatonin, that tan injection.
Yeah.
You're not allowed. I don't think you are allowed the peptides. You'd have to have a look on the WADA list.
Yeah, we'll have a look. But no, to summarise, everything's good. Training's in a good spot. Finn, as mentioned at the start, goes away next week, so we're going
to Scarborough.
Yeah, so I think I might actually next week do Monday session at Warehouse, and then Wednesday, Thursday,
try it.
Yeah, and just see. Because it means that I can do the Atlanta Tech and I can get 2 weeks in a row on that, which will be good. And then I'm going to do D-volume sessions. It'll be a D-volume for next week. So it kind of comes around perfect timing. It's been like 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks since the last D-volume, which is a welcomed addition. But the problem is it's been 6 weeks since we actually trained well. It's been a bit longer than the actual D-volume because we had a D-volume. Wasn't really a very great devolume. It did piss off
because it wasn't
fatigue.
Like a proper devolume.
Yeah, and then it resulted in like subpar sessions for the following like week to a bit longer. Like it was like 4 sessions, which would be a week session rotation, and then it was a further 2 sessions. So it was like a rotation and a half afterwards. It was poor. So it was like it's actually been since the last devolume longer than that, but we had like a good 6 sessions worth where they were like not bad. We still took progressions, but they were just a bit more.
You just tell, can't you, when you're not 100%.
Man, you're not on it. Like you don't switch on as well. So, yeah. So update, like I said, all good. Everything's good. 13 and a half weeks. Is it 13 or is it 12 and a half? I think it's 12 and a half now. 12 and a half weeks out. Scary times. So nervous. I'm just so nervous. But no, guys.
You're doing weekly YouTube videos, yeah?
Yeah, I actually am. I'm going to be doing weekly videos from now on.
I just don't think you will.
I will, mate.
I'm going to call you out on it again. I did it in the last one.
No, I'm going to be doing weekly videos. Mate, I've got my camera charged.
Yeah, but you still don't do it. You've said this so many times.
I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to video tomorrow.
Yeah, but then you won't upload it.
Yeah, mate, I done one video this year and not uploaded it. So I'm pretty sure you have. No, I haven't, I promise, mate. Right, so we're going to answer a few questions. We've got a decent amount. Nothing too much, but like I said, we'll just go through them. Would you like to start? You've had yours up for a decent amount of time.
This is from Harvey Neves, who asked me quite a lot of questions. He seems like a sound guy.
Sound guy, Harvey Neves.
Harvey Neves, sound guy.
Sound guy, confirmed.
Hi, I hope you're well. I am.
Did he ask about me? Hope you guys are well. Just cheers, Harvey. Not a sound guy.
When deciding your total volume for a session, what should I consider? And then he's also asked the second part of the question, which is, if training intensity is 100%, when should you increase/decrease volume?
Okay, so what was the original one? I hope you will. When
deciding your total volume for a session, what should I consider?
Okay.
I'll let you go.
Okay.
Or do you want me to go? You struggling?
No, I think
You're
I'll be
right.
alright.
You're right with this one.
Yeah, I think I'll be okay. Yeah, don't hold my hand on this one.
Hold over the table.
Yeah, that's how. We're holding hands now. I'm just
got this.
rub my leg like Reece. Come on, confidence. It's a bit of a challenge because we don't know if you're strong, your recovery capabilities. Your recovery capabilities is going to be like one of the main drivers. You have to understand your intensity, your accuracy is also going to be a driver of how much volume you can handle, your training experience, and therefore that's usually going to be relative to your overall loading. It's going to be at a far, let's say that's going to have a lot of merit. So there's plenty of factors as well as like, let's say how many times a week you're training. If you're training at 3 times a week, your volume in session is going to be far higher than if you're training 6 times a week. And little things like this is going to be such a challenge to say, right, this is what you need to consider. What I would always recommend when someone's switching between a higher volume, it's like a lower intensity kind of approach. So for example, going from your standard 3 to 4 sets to 2 to 3, is I'd say start off on the absolute minimum. Try and get yourself down to baseline volume, whether that's 6 sets, 8 sets, 10 sets, and just make sure that you can put in absolutely everything into each individual set. And then you can pretty much maybe do 6 weeks, 4 weeks, right? How's your muscle soreness? How's your recovery? How are you feeling? Do you reckon you could handle a bit more? Potentially so. And you'll get to a point where you will be told, like neurologically, and then at the same time, from like a psychological standpoint, right, this is probably a bit too much. You'll feel battered, and therefore that will probably be your volume maybe a little bit lower than what you need to be working at. Now, I'm not a massive fan, if I'm honest, of like titrating volume up in a meso to initiate. I think it can lead to a fair few inconsistencies. I quite like the thought process of trialing a few different approaches. So, for example, if I was to have a client, I'd be saying, right, let's start you off on 4 sessions per week, upper lower 2 times per week. Let's have the set volume at maybe 12 to 14 sets, and then potentially we could transition to 5 sessions per week and have like a pull, push, lower, upper, lower. Overall weekly volume increases slightly, but the session volume reduces, obviously, because there's more sessions in the week. And then you can almost micromanage the external variables that you're going to want to control. But again, it's challenging to assess without knowing where you are in your training. You might be pulling 5 plates from the floor and me saying, oh mate, just do 6 working sets or do 14 working sets. You might not be able to recover, or you might know I can easily do that. So it would almost be assessing the data, not thinking too critically about it, and just saying, right, how do you feel? What's your current volume at? Could you make manipulations to that to therefore elicit a better response? And then you can go from there. But it is it's a challenging one, isn't it? Because without knowing what the sound guy Harvey is training like, it's hard to assess.
I would say though, like, if we imagine that, let's say that the individual, whoever it is that asked this question, is training with the highest level possible of accuracy, the highest level possible of intensity, then I would pretty much say, as a rule of thumb, train with as much volume as you can progress and recover from.
Yeah.
So if you're progressing really, really well, then and your performance is sky high and you're getting as strong as possible, then potentially look at adding another set.
Yeah.
Because you think, oh, well, I'm recovering well, I'm progressing really well, I could maybe get away with it. If you're doing the opposite, where let's say you're doing 4 sets or 3 sets already, and maybe 2 of them are progressing, 1 of them is just feeling really hard work, or none of them are progressing, then maybe you're doing a bit too much. I often quite like looking at it as an exercise, like one exercise at a time, rather than a whole session.
Yeah.
So like, we'll look at like a press, and we'll be like, right, how many, like we'll generally do like, let's say 2 sets, but for example, like at the minute I can't do a pec fly because of like an issue that I've got with my pec tightening. But then I'll just think, okay, can I add a 3rd press in, or can I add a 3rd set to this press to take sort of obviously the volume that I would have had there. And then if I can, and I can progress all my 3 sets, then I'll keep it in. I'm like, great. And then I could even look over time, like maybe I could add a 4th. But generally, the stronger that you get, I would argue that the less volume you're going to need, because and as well as that, not just the stronger you get, but the more accurate you get and the more intense you train at, the less that you're going to need. But if you're deciding, like, do I need more or do I need less? Just really focus on what level are you performing at. Do you think you're performing at your utmost, like 100% best you could perform every single set of every session? If you do, then great. And then if you can do that and add more, then great. But more often than not, you'll be doing sets here and there that you probably just don't need. And you're just doing them because it's just to tick off another exercise.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the time you benefit from pulling back and improving your performance on those exercises. If you think for 100% everything is bang on, then feel free to add in a set here or there if you think you can recover from it. But obviously your body will tell you whether you can or not, and your logbook, your training data will tell you whether you're doing too much or too little. Like I think it's something that can be overanalyzed way too much.
Yeah,
like with clients, sometimes they'll say, "Oh mate, I think I could maybe add a set here," and I'm like, "Cool, try it."
Yeah,
that's as simple as that. Like, see how it goes. And then they're like, "Oh, actually, you know, my recovery's been a little bit worse. The third set didn't actually go great. I was using like half as much load, and I still only got 12 reps. Like, I felt like I burnt out." People will say, "It's like, okay, maybe you don't need that set. It's not a productive set." So just play it by sort of feel and trial and error.
Yeah, agreed. Spot on. Right. So, in gaining phase is from King. So he's a king.
He's a big king.
King Boss No One.
He's a king and a boss.
Yeah, King Boss.
And he's a number one.
And he's
fucking
number
hell.
one. Fucking hell, this
guy's the baller.
Yeah, this is the lad. In gaining phase, if performance is improving but the scale isn't moving up, is there a need to push food up?
I would say it depends on your current composition.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, like, I have some clients who are pretty much in that position now, and I call it the sweet spot of composition. Yeah. So I don't want to give like an exact body fat percentage because you can't really give that. But
14.68%.
But let's say
have to be that percentage.
Let's say, and it'd probably be, if we were to do it on a DEXA scan, it would be anywhere between, I'd say, 15 and probably 25%, depending on the individual.
Which is a lot leaner than a lot
leaner than you think. Yeah, that's like pretty lean to lean.
Yeah,
like
that's like you're 6 weeks away from, like, if you were to diet quite aggressively.
I'd say if I was to do a DEXA scan now, I'd be 24, 25. Like, I'd probably be the higher end of that sweet spot, and you'd probably be 20.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Like, when I competed, I'd have been 10, let's say. So, like, it's like, and it depends on the individual. Like, I have some clients who they want to stay at the leaner end of that because they like a leaner look throughout the year, and I'm not then going to push them on into a really sort of stupid gaining phase and get them fat because they might get a little bit extra benefit from having more body weight.
Yeah.
The detriment that's going to have on their sort of psychological sort of feelings towards themselves, they're going to look at themselves and hate how they look. They're not going to feel like they want to train because of that. They're going to be demotivated when they look at themselves. So you've got to find that sort of sweet spot. And I think there's a position where you can be too lean and there's a position where you can be too fat. And it's that in between where you're fat enough to the point where your pressing feels stable and you can lock your scapula in and you've got some fat and some fluid around your joints, but then you're not too fat to the point where you've got grabbable fat everywhere and you feel sluggish and tired and your higher rep sets are a real struggle and you just feel like horrendous. The in between those two, really. So that is what I would say. And generally then, if you maintain, I'm not too sort of fussed about that with my clients. I quite like to see scale weight going up still at a very gradual rate at that point. So I'll have some clients who are literally gaining at like 0.2 pounds a week, which is almost nothing. Like, that's so small. But I say to them, look, you're in this sweet spot of composition, training is in a really good spot, and body weight is creeping up. So is that realistically, is it going to benefit you going and pushing up by another 5, 10, 15 pounds over the next few weeks or months? Is that actually going to benefit your performance? Probably not. Like, you're going to have a bit more weight behind you, but you're probably just going to feel a lot worse for that. So it depends whereabouts you're at with that sort of composition. And I think a lot of times as well, it depends on the person, because some people are like, mate, I want to fucking get big and push on, and I'm happy to. And I'm like, cool, if you understand that you're going to feel like this, it's going to be really hard to push the food higher, you know, you're going to look a bit shit, as long as you're happy with that, they're like, yeah, I don't mind, I want to push harder. And then other people are like, I want to stay a little bit leaner so that if I want to go on holiday or just when it's summer, I want to look good, or want to look good in the vest in the gym. Fair play. So if you're not within that range, then get in that and then stay there. You can stay there for a long time, really long, if you're gaining gradually. Yeah, you know, we've been on like gaining phase before where we've been like, oh, I need to gain like a pound a week or more. And it's like, well, yeah, you can do that for as long as you like, but you're just going to get fat pretty quick. Like, out of my prep, I gained within the first like few weeks. Spike. Yeah, within the first few weeks, I was 10 pounds up. Another couple of weeks after that, I was probably 15 pounds up. So then I would have been about up to 180. And then pretty much since then, I was gaining at about £1 a week up to about 190. And then since I was 190, I was gaining at about £0.5 pound. And then now it's been close to 0.25 to £0.5 pound. Sometimes it'll fluctuate a little bit more. It went down when I was ill, so then I pushed weight to get back up. But like, as the further through a gaining phase you get, the slower the rate needs to be. And like I say, for me now, like if I was to try and, like you said, we were speaking about this the other day, like you have to earn a given body weight.
Yeah.
Like I could have been 200 pounds within 6 weeks of my show.
You wouldn't have been earned,
but I'd have felt like shit. I'd have looked shit. My training would have still been shit. I'd have still been weak. I wouldn't have been anywhere near as strong as I am now, but I'd have been heavier or as heavy. Yeah, but it's taken me however long it's been now, and like I say, I've earned the right to be up at this weight. I look a lot better now at 200 pounds than I did last time because of the way that I've done it. And I've not just looked at body weight and gone, I need to gain this amount every week, because that's not going to correlate directly to muscle. Just because you're gaining a pound a week doesn't mean you gain a pound of muscle a week.
No. And I think people get confused about that.
Yeah, they just think you have to gain this certain amount.
I think, to put it simply, I would just say, and I say this to clients all the time, like your performance isn't going to be driven strictly off body weight. There's going to be some level of relevance where you want to get, as Finn mentioned, your body weight into a position where you can train optimally. But then from that point, there's not where you need to be pushing body weight up just to push body weight up. The performance is increasing. Could you potentially get further benefit from having body weight at a higher point? Maybe so, but where would you go 3 months down the line, or 6 months down the line, or even 12 months down the line? Because if you were to rinse, let's say another 50 grams of carbs in, or 100 grams of carbs in over a monthly setting, so, or you worked your food up, what happens if appetite 3 months down the line is poor, and you've been in the gaining phase, and you've been exposed to a calorie surplus for 4 months or 5 months? You're like, right, congrats, you probably haven't actually rinsed what you can in that current time. And I hate putting a time frame on certain things, because at the end of the day, you have as much time as you need. But there is certain points where you can push too hard, definitely. And there is a level of relevance where you think, right, sometimes it will be beneficial to push body weight up, just to push body weight up. But at the same time, like if you're 6 months into a gaining phase, you don't need to be pushing as hard as you were a couple of months in to get your training into a good spot. So it was the same with me. Last year, I was 91 kilos, so that was around 200 pounds. I went on holiday at that point. I was very lean. I wasn't shredded, but I was very lean. And it was where after that I came back, and within I think 2 months I was up like 15 pounds minimum. I think I was up to around 100 kilos, so I was probably up more than 15 pounds.
20 pounds.
Yeah, it was around 20 pounds. And then from that, it was where I was like, right, now I don't need to push a group and then the following 7 or 8 months of the surplus, I gained probably the same amount of weight, but it wasn't in 2 months, it was in 7 or 8 additional months. So it's like 10 months of a surplus. And it was where I'd say I gained half of the weight in 2 months and the rest in the following couple of months. And that was only because I was like, right, well, I need to get my training into a good spot. So there is that kind of understanding. And again, if performance is in a good spot, there's no real need for a lot of cases. That is.
I think as well, like just a final point on that is like you want to spend more time gaining than dieting.
Yes.
So why would you rush a gaining phase to just have to diet again really quickly?
Yeah.
The only time I would say that that's really warranted if you know you've got a certain time frame. So if you know for a fact, right, I've got 6 months of a gaining phase before I compete again, then I kind of get why you would be a bit more aggressive with it. But if you are just trying to build muscle and you're not thinking about competing, or if you maybe think about competing in the future, then you don't want to be wasting time bulking and cutting and bulking and cutting because you can't commit to a gradual gaining phase, because you just rush every time and then you feel fat and you hate how you look and then you have to diet.
Yeah.
Like you'd be much better slowing it right down and gaining for a lot longer. You're going to get a lot more out of that than gaining and dieting and gaining and dieting.
Yeah, spot on.
Is it me?
Yes, go for it, mate.
Go-to top set songs. Any reasons for them in particular?
Right, so yeah, The Weekend, Prisoner, fantastic.
Do you still listen to that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Very rarely now.
I have to sporadically use it. So I've always been, and this is something I wouldn't say I showed you music but you never used to be a massive.
Reece showed me music.
No.
Before I met Reece,
Yeah.
I was actually deaf.
Yeah, he's deaf.
I'd never heard music in my life. He showed me it was like a new world. It was really crazy.
I'm more mean like you never used to take too much of a.
I still don't.
Do you not?
No. People make more out of it than they need to.
Yeah,
I say this all the time.
Yeah, I connect quite well mentally with my emotions. So I don't listen to a song. I'm being honest. Like I don't listen to a song to get a song and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so switched on. I get it, so I can get inside my own head. And like little things, like I pick up the weirdest words or sentences, and I'm like, yeah, and I just tell myself the same line over and over and over again of a song. Or I'll listen to like little bits that give me like a bit of a response where I get like goosebumps or something, or I kind of get like chills from something. Like the weirdest things, that have to be a song. And then anything that sparks even the slightest bit of emotion, like mentally, where I can like, oh, I feel something there. I can kind of drive that into a set. And it's very peculiar. And it was something that I've been able to do since I was like 14, 15. When I first started training, I did it for a set once. I think it was like a 160 deadlift. And I was like, God, that felt weird. I was like, I need to do that more often. And then ever since then, I've always kind of been quite good, but the songs are so dependent. So if I was to get up a list, it literally depends on how I feel on that day. There's not a specific genre. I don't like...
That's what I mean. You know, and I'm like, I don't think that holds that much relevance.
No.
I'm not saying that music doesn't hold relevance, but I think for me, it doesn't matter about sort of, it has to be this song.
No.
And it has to have this meaning to me.
No.
It's like, I can find a song and I might have never heard it before, and I'm like, oh, this just fucking get me going.
Yeah.
And then I can get my head right and I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to find a song that I relate to or anything.
No.
I just like, I need a song. I don't even need a song. I could train without music. Like, I'd be sound. Like you would.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say people rely on it way too much. Like, if music wasn't a thing, my training would not be any better or worse.
No, exactly.
But for some people it would. It's a massive deal for some people.
Yeah, I've done some sets where like I have like just an instrumental beat, and it's literally just like the most shallow like beat. You wouldn't even know, you can't even recognize
elevator music.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I could probably, if it was something like that, I reckon I could get myself switched onto it. So yeah, when it comes to top set songs, the only song that we rinsed the absolute crap out of was Prisoner Weekend, and that was because it has a set point, like I think it's like 47 seconds in or 50.
Yeah, where you could get ready for the set, get onto
so
the bench.
There was no overthinking. That's the one thing I always try and say to myself, like on a stiff leg deadlift, I'm like, I always say, don't overthink.
Yeah, if you can have a drop on a song that means like, right, I go there.
Yeah, there's no that second delay of, am I going to go? Am I going to go? So that's almost what I use a song for. But no, we wouldn't be able to. We don't have a playlist. We don't have a top set. Oh mate, make sure this.
Make sure you download once you're in top sets. You're going to get so big listening to it.
Yeah. Oh my God, don't get so fucking big, whatever it was. Oh, that was awful. That was the worst line out of a YouTube video. Shocking. Don't get fucking massive, lads. Oh, fucking hell.
All right, cool.
Shocking. So, tailored by Tom. Thoughts on continuous reps. When and why would you implement them? I think it's a good one, this. Brody Banks actually asked me about continuous reps, and he said that we were the first people he saw doing them during the first lockdown because we had like naffle load on the leg press.
Yeah.
And we did them before the leg press. I don't think we didn't make continuous reps.
Did them before they were popular.
Yeah, we technically did. We did the belt squat, and we made that belt squat. It was horrendous. We had like 110, 120 kilos on a belt squat. Right. We did the same, and we just did continuous reps. Yeah, I mean, I got my patella tendonitis from that. Fucked me up. And and pretty much what we found.
The first time, like me, you, and Hubert were trying to get like each other into the middle. Oh,
you got stuck.
I was just stuck in the bottom of it for like a good minute.
I had to come up and grab him. It was like I had to front squat him. It was awful. But yeah, so we rinsed continuous reps, and we found out that there's a lot of benefit from them, but we didn't do them as you would do them now. So now the popular kind of thought process is to go to failure or go to the failure of continuous reps. And then you take a second, maybe two, you get your air in, and then you go again. So it's like continuous to a set point, and then you reset and you would perform a normal set. We didn't do them like that because we didn't have enough load. We'd probably be able to stand at the top for a couple of seconds and maybe get 10 additional reps because the load wasn't that great. So what we just did literally continuous, no pauses, no stops. It's the reason why the podcast is called Once You're In, You're In.
Yeah, I also think it's a reason that we can push sets a lot harder now.
Yeah.
Like, I think that time, those sets taught us how to push past sort of a pain threshold.
They were some of the
because they are brutal. Yeah, they are. You just don't allow yourself that pause. And that pause at the top where you're stacking the load against your joints gives you time to reset and get your air in and gives your muscle a little bit of a rest.
Yeah, we'd go for reps. You wouldn't even know. You'd get 3 reps and you were convinced.
We used to like fall forwards, didn't we? The amount of times we'd like at the end of the belt squat, we'd like go for a rep and just collapse forwards with the weight and be like land, grab the bar and shit. Yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, so, or just get stuck.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on them if you have a summary?
I'd say they're worth using mainly for standardization.
Yeah.
I have a principle really for my clients, which is on everything that you do as many as you can continuous. If you know for a fact or feel like you're going to fail if you go for another continuous, then allow yourself a maximum of 1 to 2 breaths between each rep from then on in. So that can be implemented on a press, on a leg press, chest press. It could be a hack squat. Not so much on like leg extensions or hamstring curls. Generally, I would just say don't let the weight rest, but get air in when you need it in the lengthened position. But yeah, I like it mainly for standardization. I think it works well on movements where people maybe struggle to connect with a given muscle. So like a belt squat, for example, in the gym, some people will say it's the exact same thing because the load is directly below you. If you lock your joints out, you could stand there all day. And if you're not standardizing it by either taking it continuous or by at least having some form of limit on your breathing, then you could just extend the set on and on and on and on and on. So the main benefit for me is that standardization component, that you can have a principle for everything that you do that keep it the same way. And then you know for a fact, if you're progressing, that you're progressing accurately because you're having the same amount of sort of intra-set rest each time.
Yeah, all good. Spot
on.
on. Yeah.
Dream car. Well, it's a Vauxhall RS6.
RS6, yeah.
And luckily I got it last week, at the weekend. I'm really humbled by it. I've got to keep myself grounded.
You got to keep yourself, yeah, exactly. Have you written 10 things that you're grateful for today?
Yeah, I do it every morning, mate.
Yeah, I make my bed. That's my morning routine. Get out, have to make my bed, because if I don't, then I'm just
really look at your bed and go, thank God I've got a bed. Hey?
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. And then I go for my morning walk. I phone in my pocket. My WhatsApps are blowing up. I'm like, no, I'm looking at the birds. Like, God, this is so beautiful.
To be fair, we were joking about it, but we actually should do that more often.
Yeah,
because
you don't really.
To be fair, this is something that I do every morning. I open that window that's behind the camera in this massive warehouse gym that we're in.
Yeah.
I open that window and I put my head out and I just like breathe for a good 30 seconds. Yeah, but usually it's because I'm boiling hot.
Yeah.
I come up here and I'm red hot.
I thought you were going to do something inspirational, like, it's because I'm hot, guys. That's it.
Yeah, it's because I'm hot. And like, to be fair, sometimes I think, especially when it's a nice day, I look outside and I'm like, it's nice outside. Like, I've got to appreciate this world that we're in.
Right, fair enough.
And then I come back in and I go back to bed.
Yeah, go back to bed.
I don't do any work.
Yeah, like, right, sound. That's it. Rest day for me. No, so my dream car, Porsche Panamera, not Panamera.
Mate, it can't be a dream car if you don't know what it's called.
Yeah, it's one of the big Porsches.
I don't have a dream car because I've already got it.
Yeah, sound. So yeah, that's that.
Mate, we've got a lot to get through.
Perrin.
Mate, I've got Perrin.
See, that's the both. Perrin. Come on.
Go on, then. Go on.
Yeah, okay, so what are your cues when bracing? Hope you are well. Well, thanks for
asking,
mate.
He asked me if I'm well, but on a separate question.
Oh.
Hope you're both well.
Both? He didn't actually. Oh, mate. He likes me. Perrin, that's clear you like me, mate, more than Finn, because you asked twice. So considering I saw you yesterday, everything is still well since yesterday.
Not with me.
Yeah, no, Finn.
Shat myself.
Yeah, Finn's it's awful. Nightmare. So we actually were talking about this before, and we said, I said as a joke, like, imagine you're going to get hit by a train. Like, that's almost what you'd want to imagine before doing each rep. And like the bracing cues are something that are like, it's so easy to explain, but it's so hard in practice to do, because a lot of people, when they get to a close level of like momentary muscular failure, they just shit themselves and they break down and they rush. And it is that level of fight or flight response. If you can still take a set all the way there, good. But most people in general, we've seen it. They panic, they rush, it gets hard, and they're like, oh, and they just rush the basics. So for example, your bracing can be spot on for the first 6 reps of a 10 repper. And then after that, you break down because your bracing is poor. And you need to make sure that your bracing is almost like it's a very highly skilled thing. But we could say, right, just get your air in, pull yourself in, lock yourself in, and get tight to the machine and go again. But the problem is people don't do that. Like they do for a rep or two, or they can't in general. So you said, didn't you, get punched? Yeah,
if you imagine like someone is going to come and punch you in the stomach, like how hard would you squeeze your core to make sure it doesn't hurt? Like that is how I explain it to people, because that is, if you imagine that, that's what you do. Yeah, but I would say you probably get more air in when you're doing a movement.
Yeah,
like if someone's going to punch me in the stomach, I just squeeze. Whereas when it's a rep, I'm actually like as much air in as I can to increase that intra-abdominal pressure to reduce the chance of sort of breaking down or letting my spine flex or loading my vertebrae and my spinal cord. But something that's interesting that I did when I did my PT course, they told us sort of 3 ways to brace. So the first one would just be yeah, mate. This was one thing that I remember that was actually really good. First one was bracing your core as if like squeezing your abs. Yeah, so that's one way to brace, which is kind of the main one that people will think of and do. Yeah. Second one is doing a vacuum. Yeah, so if you breathe your air out and breathe your stomach in, your belly button in, that's another way that you can brace, because that's again going to increase that pressure in your core, because you're sort of almost the air is out, but you're getting it really tight. And the third one is to do with like your pelvic floor muscles. So if you imagine like trying to hold a wee in, that alone, that sort of makes your core sort of tighten up a little bit as well. So the guy made us do it all together at the same time, and then he was like, now talk. And you can't, because you can't, there's no chance you can talk. So even that alone shows you how tight you're holding yourself if you can't even speak. You can't exhale any air or inhale any air. So that's how tight you can get. I mean, don't think about doing all those three, but it was like interesting when I did all there. And it's like, oh shit, like look how how tight you can make your core. But yeah, for like just as a basic rule, like what I would say is get as much air in as you can. And when I say that, I literally mean like as much air in as you can. Like you'll see us do reps and we literally look stupid because we're like,
and I'd even say more than that.
And that's how we look. And then I'm squeezing my stomach as hard as I possibly can, like as if even if someone came and drop kicked me, like if someone came and bang, like, I don't think it'd hurt.
No. Yeah,
I feel like they'd bounce, like they'd bounce off it. Like it wouldn't be like it wouldn't wind you because you've got like that much air in you that tight. But obviously, when you've got everything else to think about in the set, it's hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't be afraid. Like I know Perrin won't be, but a lot of people are too bothered about what they look like.
Yeah.
Like they give a shit too much. They're like, oh, I don't want to get that much air in. I'll pull a face. Like, well then be small forever. Like, or don't lift anything significant.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
I might as well ask his other one.
Right.
What are yours and Reece's favourite bits of equipment and exercise for each muscle group? Right, this is going to be quick fire.
Yeah, quick
calves.
Seated calf, yeah.
Hamstrings. Seated ham.
Seated ham. Are we allowed like an RDO on that?
Come on. Yeah, we'll class it. Right. Yeah, we can do whatever.
Okay.
Glutes.
Glutes, not hip drive.
Yeah.
Hip drive.
Quads.
Prime leg extension.
Really?
Oh no, sorry. Quads. I was thinking isolations. Hack.
Say a hack.
Yeah, hack.
Yeah. Well, I remember a back supported, and you were like, "Oh, V squat."
Yeah, that's it.
I'd say a back supported squat, and then, but maybe not a V squat, like a pendulum or a hack.
Yeah.
True squat.
Hack. I'd go for.
Abs.
Don't do abs.
Cable ab crunch.
Yeah, cable ab crunch or hanging leg lift.
Back density.
Like density.
Any
so
form
like
of hinge.
Yeah, hinge. Yeah. Stiff
back
leg currently.
Width.
I
would say any form of lat single arm movement.
I do a single arm like chest supported, not a chest support. You know what you do with the pull down, so it's like
any form. I would say you can do that either as a pull down,
yeah,
which is going to be a little bit more lower lat, or like a row single arm movement, just so you can line yourself a little bit better with it.
I do a vertical pull single arm. That's what I do. I wouldn't want to do a horizontal for like lats in that kind of plane. I'd rather have like that horizontal plane for like a mid to upper back kind of emphasized movement.
You don't have to. You can do both.
Yeah, I know, but we've only given one option. Only allowed one option.
So mid back, mid and upper back. Let's say
T-bar, chest squat T-bar,
and then shoulders.
What chest squat T-bar would you use?
I like the Watson, you know.
Yeah,
you can adjust the handles. Yeah. You can adjust it to your sort of in line with your shoulder.
The only bit of Watson kit that isn't diabolical.
To be fair, some Watson kit is like, I'd say about a third of it is good. The true squat is good.
Yeah, the true squat.
The hack squat is decent.
The hack squat isn't bad. Yeah.
The lateral raise is all right.
Yeah.
I mean, the handles are shit, but if you put the cuffs on, like there is a few. Anyway, come on. Shoulders. Anterior.
Anterior. Okay, so like just a seated shoulder press.
Any form, yeah.
Yeah, seated shoulder press.
And then lateral, a cuff lateral, I'd say.
Yeah, cuff line lat or cuff single arm.
I'd probably do a single machine.
Arm. Yeah, I don't know. Single arm machine. Like if I like the prime seat. Prime, lateral because you can load different ranges. So probably that. Rear fly, or if we're trying
rear delt row.
Yeah, whatever.
Traps, I'd say you can class it within your hinge, or you can do a shrug.
Yeah. And then we've got chest. So any like low incline press, low incline Smith, like a plate loaded press. But I wouldn't really I'm not a fan of plate loaded presses, if I'm honest now. Like with how hard they are to get short with a few niggles, I'd probably just have like an incline Smith, like a very low incline Smith. What would you have?
I would probably have a machine press. I haven't even used the Explodes and all.
No, I think if we've used
it'll be similar to the one I use, the pin loaded one. It is nice.
Yeah, so something like that. That would be in. And
sorry, we haven't delved into exact pieces of equipment.
Oh my god, mate, we've missed out on biceps and triceps.
Oh shit, yeah.
It's just we treated them like accessories. I know that's so.
Say a dumbbell curl.
Yeah, dumbbell curl.
A dumbbell or a cable curl.
Yeah.
And then
tricep
probably like a
overhead.
single arm overhead extension.
Yeah. Sound spot on.
Sorry we didn't delve into every piece of equipment, mate.
No.
We've got a fair few questions and Reece has got to go home.
And we don't
got to go see his mum.
And we've got we're getting a gym ourselves and we don't want to tell everybody what we're going to get because then someone could copy us bit for bit, kit for kit.
I was speaking to a client about that today. He actually, an old client messaged me saying, would you recommend, what gym would you recommend in Loughborough? I was like, none.
Yeah,
like we need to make one.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Right.
Go.
Mate, that's the bottom one. I've read it.
Oh, Toby Warner, fantastic listener to the podcast. Toby Warner,
Fantastic listener. He listens better than anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Would you consider natural bodybuilding to be healthy? So I can't answer this question, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna pass the realm. Finn, answer the question. Come on, being the sponsorship, the mouthpiece for the natural bodybuilding scene on this podcast.
It's so healthy, so much healthier than taking gear.
So much healthier.
If you take gear, you're just a horrible person.
Cheater.
Really aggressive.
Really aggressive.
Ever since he started, he just shouts at me. He's beaten me like 4 times.
So many times.
It's horrible. I can't train with it. It's horrible. But no, I would. To be fair, I wouldn't class bodybuilding, whether it's natural or enhanced, as a healthy sport. Like when you're pushing your body to the extremes in anything that you do, I don't think it's healthy. Like even you could look at people who, let's say, elite marathon runners. Like, is that healthy? Like, no. Like just because they can run a marathon and you think, oh, they're the healthiest people on earth. Like the levels that they push themselves to when they're competitive, that's not healthy really at all. Like you've seen people at the end of marathons like passing out and shit. So yeah, it's not really. I wouldn't class it as healthy. I would say to an extent it is healthier than doing it enhanced, because obviously you're not putting sort of exogenous compounds in your body that you need to worry about, like understanding them. Like at least for me, like right now in terms of my knowledge on anabolics, if I was to start taking them, I'd have to research so much and I'd have to be so sure of what I'm putting in my body. Otherwise, I would be putting myself at a lot more risk than I do when I'm doing it naturally. Yeah. So if you just want to make sure, if you want to do it the healthiest way possible, then you want to take a natural route, because there's less chance that you can do anything wrong. There's less variables to worry about. But that's not to say that it's healthier doing it naturally, because you could argue at the end of a prep with how low your testosterone level is going to be when you're natural and how shit you can feel. Not that you won't feel shit when you're enhanced, but you are generally in a much healthier position, especially if done correctly or done well. At the end of a prep, you can be in a much healthier position when you're enhanced. But it depends again. What would you class as healthy? Because realistically, none of it is healthy. Like even if you look at the mentality or mental side of it, the psychological aspects of bodybuilding, it's not healthy. Is it healthy for any of us to be comparing our physiques to someone else on a stage? Not really. Like for a lot of people anyway. Like for someone like me, like I'm relatively headstrong. I don't see it like that. I enjoy it and I do it because I want to better myself and I like improving my physique and seeing myself get bigger and I like the performance aspect of it. But it's not a healthy sport to be stood on a stage being judged by random people, really, is it? No. Like so.
Oh no, everything about it.
Yeah, everything about it is weird.
Yeah.
But
and like
it's the training side of it that you love, innit? And then you want to almost sort of compete. You want some competitive side of it against other people as well.
If you want bodybuilding to be as healthy as possible, it's not bodybuilding, it's going to a gym.
Don't bodybuild.
It's going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, full body sessions, doing a lot of mobility work, doing
you wouldn't
CV
be pushing
work,
food up crazy high.
Keeping food at a low amount, protein far lower than what you'd want it to be. Like you wouldn't go off any recommendations for 1.6 or 2.2 grams per kilo. You'd be going off like probably
0.8 to 1.
Yeah, you'd be going off the bare minimum. You'd be trying to prioritize your mental element outside of training. So like, for example, you'd be watching the football and having maybe a good time and having some food in comparison to going to the gym. Like you've got little things like that. So anything you take serious in any aspect is not probably going to be healthy. Is it unhealthy? Potentially, if you take it to a serious level. But at the same time, I wouldn't use that as a detriment. A lot of people get into the gym because they want to be healthy, and then they kind of get obsessed on the performance aspect, and then that naturally occurs to you to be less healthy, should we say. So, yeah, I wouldn't consider it healthy, but I wouldn't consider it unhealthy. It really depends on the realm.
Yeah, if you look at it in terms of like, if you want to have something to commit your life to, I'd say it's healthier than having nothing. Like I say this to my clients, like it gives you a purpose a lot of the time. Like most people don't really have a purpose. They go to work, and then outside of that, they're sort of like, oh, that's all that I really do, which is normal. That is normal for most people. But I think from a productivity standpoint and from a basically just trying to better yourself, from a position of trying to be a better person and doing something to improve yourself, which makes you feel good, I think bodybuilding is a good hobby to have, even if you don't do it competitively. Like even just going to the gym and trying to get bigger is a good hobby to have, rather than going out and doing drugs and getting pissed all the time. To be fair, you do drugs as well.
So it is. It's fine. Right, your question, mate.
This is from Sonny. It's who's bigger? What do you make of clients who, and he's put like the same. I think he means look like the same for years having a PT. So he's put, what do you make of clients who look like the same for years having a PT? I know this is a hard question.
What does he mean by that, Joe?
So basically, like,
Is a client coming to us who's looked the same, or are we saying like, oh, Finn has a client who's looked the exact same for 2 years, it must be Finn as a shit coach? Is that what
I think he's saying, like, what do you make of clients who, basically, what is your opinion on, or what would your thoughts be if you saw someone who's got a PT or a coach who's looked the same for years?
Yeah.
What would your thoughts be?
The PT or the client? The client.
You, us. What would our thoughts be about that situation?
No. So are we saying okay? So both. You've got to understand that, like, you can be. There's a lot of shit coaches out there, which is a shame. It's a massively saturated industry. People train for a year to 2 years and they want to be coaches who have, in essence, no right to be coaches based off what they actually know. I'm not saying that no one can be a coach. Like, you can be a coach, but you're going to be driven off what you know and how you are. So that's going to be a factor. So there are a lot of shit coaches out there, which is not going to be a benefit. There's also a lot of shit clients. So you might be the best coach in the world. Like I've said to Finn before, like I have no doubts. If I had a client who left me and they went to another coach, I wouldn't have any doubts that they're going to get. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, they're going to get a better service. I'd be like, right, Sam, that's cool. Best of luck. Like I'd wish them well, but I'd be confident that they're not going to get much of a better service if they are at all. And like, for example, not every single client is you're going to be able to guarantee results. I never guarantee results. It's driven strictly of how hard they work, how hard they train, and what they're about. So there's certain clients that we've had, which is a shame because we shouldn't really want to say it, but it is the truth. It's real. Who probably haven't adhered to the best principles possible. They haven't fully trusted and invested in you as the coach. And then they're the ones who don't make the best results. So they're the ones who don't check in and they miss out on the basics. And then you could see it from an outside perspective, like, oh, that client isn't growing at the same rate as this client for this guy, but there's plenty of factors that are about either the coach or the client that could be impacting that individual. So it's almost where I wouldn't really think too much of it, if I'm honest. Like I understand from like being in the industry that there's a lot of people out there, and some people are spot on and some people are poor. And that's how people are. You're working with individuals, and it's not a shame because when you can tap into someone's like psyche and get the best results out of them, it's mint. But there are people that I'm not going to say uncoachable, but they're just not in the position where they're going to be responding well to a coaching process. And that's not a coach's fault. So as long as the coach is offering the best service possible and they're still making sure to put their practice into the best spot, so it's almost like, well, most of the time it's the client.
I was going to say, for me, like coming from a coaching like outlook and from a PT, more so from a PT's outlook, like one thing I learned when I was PTing is that you can't help everyone.
Yeah.
It's impossible to help someone who doesn't want to be helped. Yeah. Like, so you'll have people who will come to you, we've had it loads of times, mate, I'm so motivated, I really want to make, I want to make the most progress ever, I hate how I look, this and that, and then you give them all the tools to do that, but they just can't adhere to it. And then it's not a case of being like, oh, they just don't want it, but it's more so that they want other things maybe a little bit more, they maybe prioritize other things more that aren't going to be productive towards their progress. And like something that I do because I have a few of my clients who have their own clients ask me questions about sort of, oh, I've got this client who's a bit of hard work or this or that. And what I say is like, imagine if you went to the doctor with a problem and the doctor gave you a solution and then you were like, oh no, I can't be asked to do that.
Yeah. What you
it's like, well, then you're not going to get better. And that is exactly what it's like when it comes to coaching. Like you have clients who come to you because they have an issue, whether that be that they just want to look a bit better, whether they want to compete, whether they want to lose fat, whatever it may be. They come to you with a problem, you have the solution, or you should have, if you're a good coach, you should have the solution. And you should also be able to sort of be able to cater to the individual with your solution. It's not just like, right, this is the one solution that works for everyone, because it doesn't. Yeah, we'll have clients who have on meal plans, we'll have clients who we don't, we have clients who we will check in with twice a week sometimes because they need a little bit more sort of guidance. We maybe have clients who we don't talk to all week, but they check in and everything's sound. Yeah. Or we'll have clients who we talk to every day because they need that. And everybody is different. I have some clients who I'm like, right, we have 4-week blocks, and then we can change things a little bit because they otherwise get sort of stuck in the fact that, oh, I'm doing the same thing. And they will benefit from having maybe a little bit of a change now and again, which if they wanted to be a bodybuilder, then we wouldn't do. But people are different and you've got to adapt to that. But if you have a solution, which if you're a good coach, you should really have for anyone, and they don't want to take you up on that because they're not willing to do the work, then you don't get the results. Like, it's literally like anything in life. If you don't put the time and effort in, you're not going to get anything back. It's like if you don't have a job, you don't get paid. Like, what do you expect? It's the exact same thing. And I think it's almost like in the coaching industry, no matter how little work the client puts in, it's almost expected that they should get results because of the coach. And it's like, we can't hold your hand.
People expect, they sign up, they get a coach, and they're like, oh, it's easy now. And I feel like what you mentioned about, like, I've got a few clients who are coaches as well, probably like 5 to maybe a bit more. And they will say the same kind of issues where the people that, when you're starting out as a coach, you'll be working with people that, I don't want to say you won't want to work with because that's harsh, but it is a sense where the skill level is not probably to the realm that you want to be coaching at. And I think it's quite normal to then expect that you have to, that's almost the foundations and the building blocks of being a coach, because you learn, right, this person doesn't respond well here. How can I get the best response out of somebody? And there will be some people that you kind of just have to scratch off and think, right, it's not really the coach's fault. It's usually the client. And it's a shame because obviously if I have a client sign up, or we've had plenty of clients sign up, but they sign up for, let's say, a block of coaching, whatever it is, and they check in once or twice and they realize it's not for them. And it's a shame because you've invested, not only like you could be saying, oh, well, you got paid, but you invested your time into that individual for even a check-in or
it's not even that, it's that you want everybody to do well because you want the best for them and for your business as well. You don't want clients
it doesn't happen. You're like, I think you could view it and go, well, you only got X amount of money for just one check-in or for a setup video. It's like, well, no, it's not, because that's not what you want. Like, I'd much rather someone make me work and actually think, right, this guy's...
Or someone say to you before you set them up, actually, it's not going to be for me. Like, I've said that to you before. I had a client
who said to you, you know what, this isn't for me. And you were like, yeah, spot on.
I did the application video, and he was like, mate, that's like so in depth. I appreciate that so much, but it's definitely not for me right now. It's going to be, I can't commit to that, he said. And he was like, I feel like I've wasted your time. I feel really bad. And I was like, you've done the opposite. Like, wasting my time would have been signing up, doing a month or 2 months, and then sacking it off straight away because you can't hack it. Like, that's wasting my time rather than, telling me beforehand, which is great, And I think you've got to be, as a client or as an individual who's maybe looking for a coach, you've got to be realistic with yourself and think, is this what's right for me? Can I actually adhere to it? Because it's difficult. Like, especially if you come to someone like us who is going to make you work, like, I think that's what the difference is a lot of the time. A lot of coaches won't make you work. They'll make you sign up and be like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm getting money. Like, the amount of times that we'll have clients who are like, fucking hell, it's hard, isn't it? Yeah. Like, it's hard to get all the training right. I feel like I'm sending you videos every day and nothing's ever right, or there's always things to improve. Well, there is. Like, well, yeah, there's always, like, we look at our own training and always think, oh, that could have been better. Like, there's always things to improve. Like, there'll never be like a point for us where we'll have a client, even if we've got however many clients, where we'll just like, they'll send videos over and we'll just scan through it and go, yeah, all good. Yeah. Like, because that's not how we want to coach. But then also that attracts different individuals, because some people don't like being told that A, B, and C is wrong and that you're not doing it right when they've got a bit of an ego and they think, oh, but I know what I'm doing. Yeah. They're usually the people who then don't actually make any progress for years because they think they know what they're doing. They're stuck in their own old habits that aren't making them any progress.
Yeah, spot on. Right.
Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, if that's possible.
All right, we've got a lot more. Well, not a lot more. We've got a fair few more questions.
Quick fire, or the ones that are going to take?
To be fair, mine are relatively quick if you want to.
Yeah, go for it. No, go for it. I've got two. Right, when's the best time to train abs in a push-pull leg split? Abs are not that much, not fatiguing. You could really do them whenever. Yeah, I do the end of a session, whenever you can fit them in. And then the same guy, Rowan Young. Hope you're well, Rowan. If you are listening, he's an old client. He's actually in the army, which is quite cool. If you've got to run every day, what's the best way to put on muscle mass? So you've got to understand that it's probably not going to be too productive from like a training standpoint, which is not ideal. You've also got to understand as well, if it's army, you're most likely going to be running with weight on you. So again, not going to be ideal. However, it will be energy balance. If you can make sure to get in a lot of food and be in an energy surplus, which is going to be challenging considering you're probably given the food. Yeah, you would. You just probably have to get like, I don't know, like mutant mass sent to you by your mum and dad, so I literally posted in like you got like 6 kilos worth of they're like I think they shout young because that's what they do, it's a surname. They'll be like, I've got a delivery and he's already mutant mass and he's like, yeah, sorry,
I think no matter how high your expenditure is,
you can always be in the same. You can always manipulate it.
Like, a client messaged me today asking about football. It's like, I want to get back into football. Like, how will I make sure it doesn't limit my training? I don't want to lose muscle. it's like you're not going to lose muscle just because you're playing football. Like you might not be able to gain as well as you could without, but you're not going to lose muscle just because you're doing a bit more expenditure, unless you were to get injured, obviously, and then not be able to train. But yeah, you can manage it. You just need to eat a lot more.
Right. Let's go.
What is the most effective way to grow quads? Full range of motion, train hard. A lot of the time, it is just train hard.
Legs are the one, and we've said it before. Like you have to be able to train hard to have a good set of legs. Anyone can take a pressing set to failure, and most people can take a pull set. But
it's easy to train up a body to failure.
Lower body to failure it really does separate. And it's a cringy saying, but the men from the boys, the ones who can take the sets to failure, are usually the ones that.
It's true.
Yeah, it is true. It is true.
So, I'd also say as well, like, pick a squat and a leg press variant that you can actually feel in your quads.
Yeah.
Because I think like a lot of people will do like barbell back squats and they don't get anything out. They don't feel their quads. Like, don't be wrong,
because it's a barbell.
You're going to build your legs,
to
an extent, but you probably will get a lot more out of maybe a hack squat or a pendulum squat, whatever it may be. And so choose something that suits you and your biomechanics and that you feel.
And so I'd also say as well, like make sure your isolations are on point. So, for example, your ham curls, your leg extensions, if you're doing them before you compound, which if you break it down, most people should.
Ham curls to build quads, yeah?
Oh, quads, yeah, but I thought it should lower body. But in general, ham curls, fantastic.
Loads of ham curls.
Yeah, agonist, antagonistic.
That's what it'll do. Just build your quads. You know that pressure of the pad on your quads, that pain, that generates muscle damage and it bruises the quads and it inflames them and it grows them.
You can tell on the eccentric, the agonist and antagonist, the hamstrings relax and the quads contracted. So even though it's not against load, you can be like, well, it's an antagonistic muscle group, that's what it is. So no, it doesn't work like that. Yeah, I know it doesn't. But I think I remember getting told that by like a GCSE teacher and I was like, this is right. Like I just knew this is fucking shit. Awful. Right, next one.
Sanaya asks Shannon. This question is for Shannon, who is actually making food, but I don't think she'll come in.
Yeah, we'll answer because we actually asked her.
Would you get annoyed at Finn for watching the Euros whilst at the cinema? Because Reece watched the Euros at the cinema.
I didn't. I watched the goals. Shannon said
it would piss Shannon off because I've checked my watch before the cinema and Shannon fell out on me for days.
But Shannon did say, like, within the topic of relevance, I said, I was like, well, the football's on. And I was like, no, I'll go, but like, I'd like to watch football, but we'll go. And Shannon was like, oh, that's fine then. If you mentioned it, that's cool. So Shannon would get annoyed, but in the grand scheme of things...
To be fair, like, I think it's one of them where...
Mate, it's supposed to be fast.
Even I said, like, I wouldn't have done that, but I'm not an arsehole.
Yeah, see. I just don't care. Either that and I'll go.
Didn't you celebrate as well in the cinema? You took your shirt off, took your France shirt off, and you're like, hey, people are like, sit the fuck down, fat bastard. You threw your popcorn around because you cheated on your diet.
Got in a fight with somebody because of that.
Right, final one. Big Brad Steelyard.
Brad Steelyard.
How to assess a regression in a lift and what to do if you regress more than one session.
Oh, this is pressing. He's
pressing on his dumbbells. He's been crying about
it. So I would firstly assess his execution deteriorating. Is there a reason why, even if he's dieting now?
He is dieting.
Yeah, he is. I know he is dieting. So if he's dieting, it's probably a sense where obviously fluid fluctuations, energy balance coming down, it's not putting you in the best spot to potentially progress in certain movements, more specifically maybe like a medium incline dumbbell press as he had in. So upon assessing that, it then gives you a good position to then go, right, is there a reason behind the movement stalling? If so, you can usually put it down to that. And would you be then in a better position to favour a lesser, let's say, taxing, more stable movement, such as literally a like for like, because you've got to understand it's a movement pattern. Switching that to a medium incline Smith machine, what's the difference? You're going through the same range of motion. Yes, you can't move the barbell as you move the dumbbell, but it's still the same pattern of movement, and therefore the stability is taken out due to the Smith machine. And I would just view it and think, one session, I usually have a rule of three, where No.
Everyone does now. I'm sick of this.
Really? I've had this.
3 strikes and you're out.
No, I've just had this. I've had this for like years.
Yeah, I know, but everybody says it.
Really, I haven't had anybody. So that's a bit annoying. But yeah, I've always had three strikes in my mind. I've always had 3 strikes in my mind. Like if a movement stalls for 3 weeks, it's either a low progression, which I would usually favour. I usually would say just take a low progression. Like if your reps aren't massively, like if you're not in 2s and 3s and you're getting 6s, and then 1 week, let's say you go from a 7 to a 6, I'd say right, just take a 2 kilo progression, see what you can. A lot of people switch a movement out, and they could easily just go for a low progression, and then that would elicit a slightly better response, because then they could stay on that, maybe work it up, battle a 4 rep up to a 5, or they could come back down the following week and then actually feel like, oh, I've handled the 60s, now the 58s feel lighter, and I can go from there. But the problem is people just get married to staying on the exact same load.
Run it up to the top of rep rate.
Yeah, it's like, well, why? Like, the whole point is a load progression from a rep progression. That's literally you rep progress to a point where then you load progress. So if your focus is just rep progressions, why aren't you taking a load progression?
Yeah, if that was the goal, you would just work it up to however many reps.
Yeah, you go to a 30 repper and be like, oh, well, now I'm not getting any more hypertrophy.
I think
31 reps.
Yeah, 31's not allowed. Yeah. I think one thing on that, I'm be quick now. I've got another one as well. Actually, I think with that, like for us, if you know a movement's not there, like you can tell when a movement's not progressible anymore. If you've tried it for a week or two, you've maybe even reset it, you've even improved your execution, and it's still just feeling shit and it's not progressing, you can tell that feeling, can't you? Yeah. Like we'll have movements where like, mate, this just needs to go. Yeah. Like, and then just take it out. Like, and like I say, just do a like for like. Yeah. We've had it loads of times, like where we've done it for a week. Like this is without like thinking of a long-term progression. Like we've tried like maybe 3-4 weeks in a row. We've tried like a different press, and they might all be niggling like on our shoulder or all a bit awkward, a bit painful. It takes time to find the one that suits, and then you can run it up. Yeah. Right, this one real quick. This was Aura, and I forgot you messaged me rather than did the thing.
Basically, make sure to put it in the question box next time.
Basically, it made me laugh. A question I've asked before, but I feel as if alcohol has no place in training. Can a night out be done in moderation without being detrimental to progress? And then he put, coming from a former 3-day bender specialist who realised he must change his ways if he wants to train properly. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he looks good, doesn't he? Yeah. He's making good progress.
I will say to him, why only 3 days?
Yeah, why not a week?
Why not a whole week? So 3 days is not going to be productive. Could it be done let's say the night of a training session with a rest day the following day? Yeah, it could. It's not going to be productive. That's at the forefront. Like you say, oh, there's no place. Well, you already know there is no place if you're trying to be as optimal as possible.
It's not going to help.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to help. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm so thankful. I
loving those calories from
alcohol. 6 pints last night. I'm having such a good session. Like it's just not going to occur. So I would just look at that and think, well, if you're trying to be as optimal as possible, it's not going to be beneficial. But at the same time, you like from a coaching standpoint, me and Finn aren't expecting like you or any one of our clients to be robots and not drink. Like if you drink, it's not where we're going to be like, what are you doing that for? But you could definitely always plan it and try and optimize that window. So potentially making sure, let's say hydration is on point on that day. Following the morning, you're trying to replenish electrolytes, let's say sodium, potassium in the morning and such things that you're going to naturally lose upon when you're getting absolutely blathered the night before. So I would just view that and I'd be thinking, well, it's not going to be ideal, but you can still fit it in moderation, but then at the same time it's not going to be productive. So you have hit the nail on the head. It's not productive, but that psychological kind of burden that people place upon it, it doesn't need to be that like, it's not where you're going to drink and you're going to wake up the following day and you would have lost 2% worth of lean tissue. Your MPS is going to be impaired on that day. Wow, your recovery might be a little bit worse because your body isn't thinking, let me recover from my leg pull session. It's thinking, oh, I've put some poison in my body. I don't want to die. Like that's, it sounds dramatic, but that's literally what the body is thinking. So it's not thinking I need to recover or I need to spike MPS or I need to send this glycogen. I need to send this glycogen inside the muscle cell. It's not thinking that at all. So again, if we're being objective, it's not beneficial. It's not going to help. But at the same time, in moderation, if you control external variables, it can still be done and it's not going to be detrimental. Like it might take you a small step back, but it's not going to screw you over for a
I think like you said, like for example, if we were to go out on a night out, let's say, we would do it on a Saturday night, and we would go out pretty early so that we'd be done by, let's say, 11 or 12, whatever it may be. So then we're not getting like our sleep routine all over the place. And then we would make sure I would when I get home, we wouldn't eat. No. After we've been pissed, we wouldn't go out and get like a Mackey's or we would just stick to normal food. We'd try our best.
M5, get back, like, right, I'm absolutely off my head. M5 going down.
But we'd then just get home. I've always done this, just nail loads of water.
As much water until the literally you cannot drink.
I'd probably even like get some electrolytes and down some electrolytes with some water, or even just get some salt on my hand and literally chuck it in. And then in the morning, usually we'll wake up actually like, oh, I don't feel as bad as I thought because you've done that. And then the Sunday will just be a normal rest day. And I'd probably just rest more because I'd feel trashed. So I'd probably maybe have a nap in the day and I'd rehydrate more than I usually would. And then for Monday, I'm not going to be in as good a position as I would without doing that. But I'm also not going to be in a really bad position. And I'll probably still be able to have a good session. But obviously that's, again, like you said, in moderation. You can't really, it's not going to be productive doing that every week. You could do that every now and again for a birthday.
I'm tempted now. I'm tempted. Once
you want to go out tonight after the big game?
Yeah, after the big game, we'll go out. Loughborough, that'll be it. We'll go to Echoes where I've been for Halloween.
Get our shoes stuck to the floor.
Awful, that thing,
Right, come on.
Yeah, sound.
Do the outro. See you in a bit.
Right, catch you later, guys. Thank you for listening to episode 14 of Once You're In Your Own podcast. Again, all the story tags, every one of the story tags we appreciate just so much. Likewise, any questions? Yeah, we actually do. It means a lot. Likewise, we got a few actually that didn't tag us. They just tagged the podcast.
Yeah, I know, the podcast's getting bigger than us, mate.
Yeah, that's cool. Imagine
the
podcast
want. No players bigger than the club.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the club, and we're the players. So
I'm Phil Foden.
Yeah, I feel
Baggy Phil Foden.
Yeah, I don't know why I'll be Endo, just so I can know. But no, another episode's in the books. Again, thanks guys for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in. Tuesday, we'll put up a question box, and we'll look forward to posting the next one. Catch you later, guys.